They also moved on from DK Metcalf. They traded him to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a second-round pick. They get number 52 overall in this year's draft class. And then the Steelers signed him to a 5-year, $150 million extension. He is the latest wide receiver to get the $30 million per year average. Dalton, what did you think about this trade? Because I'm going to be honest with you, unless the Steelers trade George Pickens for some sort of return, maybe like a third rounder or something, I think this is crazy. I think this is bad business by the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're getting a good receiver, but you traded a near top 50 pick for a wide receiver who has the same skill set as a receiver that you already have, who is younger and currently on a rookie deal. And you also traded for the receiver who by far leads the NFL in penalties for the position since he came into the league in 2019. He has more than double the accepted penalties against him that the second place guy has, which, oh, by the way, the second place guy is George Pickens. So you basically had this same receiver in every single way, and you decided to go trade a near premium top 50 pick and give him $30 million a year on a 5-year deal. I just don't know how. I don't really know how the DK Metcalf deal makes the Pittsburgh Steelers better. That's my whole thing. We are very cautious about the value of trading for a guy just to then still sign him to a lot of money. That's really tough to find instances where that's totally worth it for you. Sometimes it is. I don't really think it is for the Steelers because, again, not that I think the DK Metcalf is a bad player. I think he's a good wide receiver. I don't really know how this makes your team any different. And instead, it just costs you draft capital and salary cap to make it happen. So I am not a fan of this deal at all whatsoever for the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though I do like the player that they're acquiring. What do you think about this deal, Dalton, and sort of how it got to this point?
It is weird on their end, right? Because they're the two players that led the league this past season in deep receiving grade. And I think what it brings into question is, okay, really, to me, it makes them better when you consider what their number 2 options were last year when you think about Mike Williams and Van Jefferson and all the other receivers that really just weren't doing much for them aside from Pickens. So it makes the receiving core, I think, a hell of a lot better, but it brings into question, what are they going to do at quarterback? Who fits this the best? And the weirdest part about it, when you really look at the way they ran their offense last year and chucking up go balls to George Pickens and doing all that, the best quarterback that might fit with this is actually Russell Wilson. Based on, he had the best deep passing grade in the league last year. If they want to get vertical, he proved that he could do it. That was the element that he brought that Justin Fields didn't at the beginning of the season, but it seems like they would rather have Fields than Wilson. It seems like they'd rather have an Aaron Rodgers than Wilson. And I think with Metcalf making so much money, and eventually Pickens is either going to make money or get traded, what is the long-term answer? I think what it is it makes them better as an offense, right? Because having a DK Metcalf makes you better than if you don't, obviously. Although the 52nd overall pick is pretty costly. You probably could have got a receiver with that pick. But I still have major questions about their quarterback situation. And I still have major questions about their offensive tackle situation and protecting what quarterback is trying to throw the ball deep this much, right? So I think you had a threefold problem. You needed a number 2 receiver. You need to figure out who your quarterback is. And yeah, you better hope Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu that they pan out at tackle, because then you have a real problem no matter who your receivers are if you can't protect them. It's a drastic step. I think schematically, I'm with you on that part, is I still don't know what their offense looks like, right? Because you can't live week to week relying on chucking up go balls, right? It's why they were so hot to start with Wilson, and then they didn't score more than 17 points in any of the last 5 games. You can't be so reliant on the home run ball like that, and it feels like Metcalf, for as great as he is, because he's fantastic, it feels like it just leans more into that philosophy, especially if you have a team that can't run the ball very well and they don't run a whole lot of play action the way that we saw Arthur Smith do in Atlanta. So talent-wise, does it make them better? Absolutely. Schematically, I still have no idea where they go from here between their offensive tackle situation and whoever in the world's going to play quarterback for them.
Yeah, to me, it makes the most sense if Russ is still your quarterback, because that's how Russell Wilson wins as a quarterback. He's just the moonball captain. And so, I mean, if you had George Pickens and DK Metcalf, I suppose that's your offense. It's pretty volatile, and I think that would get really frustrating for your defensive coordinator specifically, because you might have a lot of 3-and-outs if things don't really go well for you because you're throwing a lot of jump balls up there. But yeah, I think the rumors are out there about potentially Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And to me, that makes less sense now about what your receiver room looks like. Now, obviously, we've got a lot of time here to see what their team building strategy could be. They could be looking to trade George Pickens for a different asset, then get a different type of wide receiver in there. I like Roman Wilson, who they have, and I was sort of surprised at how little action he got even when he was back from being hurt last season. So he could get into the mix. If they move George Pickens on from a different type of a wide receiver, maybe I would like that better, especially if Rodgers is there instead of Russell Wilson. But again, it's just do I like DK Metcalf? Yes, of course I like DK Metcalf. I don't really know how much better this makes your team relative to what you had to do to make this happen. So we'll see how the rest of the offseason plays out. But right now, I don't love that deal there.